Medicine Zoning Board of Adjustment regular meeting of March 24th, 2026 is now in session. Adequate notice of this meeting, as required by the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, has been provided by the annual notice of this in the Home News Review on December 13th, 2025. It's posted in the main lobby of this complex on December 13th, 2025. Please join me in pledging allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Carley? Ms. Knight? Mr. Salmon? Mr. Aya?
Here.
Mr. Chabra?
Here.
Mr. Cerrito?
Here.
Mr. Patel?
Here.
Mr. Schneider?
Here.
Mr. DeVay? Mr. Sadaha?
Here.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Here.
And Chairman Kumba.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. The first resolution is a resolution naming an attorney for the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chairman?
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Jordan, Miser, Salmon, Sprague, and Souser as the attorney.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Sadata. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes.
And Chairman Kumba.
Yes on the motion. Mr. Salmon, congratulations. Welcome on board.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Secretary, minutes for consideration, please.
We have minutes of December 16th, 2025 for approval.
What's the board's pleasure?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Sadata. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba.
Yes on the motion. Okay, Madam Secretary, the minutes of January 27th, 2026.
For approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Sadata. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba.
Yes on the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, first resolution for adoption.
First resolution is Z13, 2025, Lakeview renovations for denial. So this is an approval of the denial.
What's the board's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Schneider. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba.
Yes on the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Next resolution, please.
Then we have Z34, 2025, Bargov Choksky. This is also an approval of the denial.
What's the board's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Schneider. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba.
Yes on the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Next resolution.
Then we have Z27, 2025, Bharat Sakaran for approval.
What's the board's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Sadata. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba.
Yes on the motion. Madam Secretary, final resolution for approval.
Z29, 2025, Varun Bhatia for approval.
What's the board's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Sadata. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba.
Yes on the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. We have one announcement. Case Z24, 2025, Vivian Pereira at 1651 Woodland Avenue has been carried to April 28th, 2026 with no renotice required. If you are here for this case Z24, 2025, Vivian Pereira at 1651 Woodland Avenue, it will not be heard this evening. It will be heard on Tuesday, April 28th, 2026, with a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a regular meeting of the Township of Edison Zoning Board of Adjustment. The board is composed of Edison Township residents appointed by municipal council who volunteer their time and service to the board. The municipal land use law requires that members successfully complete a land use training course administered by the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs. This board also holds in-house training conducted by our board professionals. The zoning board abides by the provisions of the municipal land use law in addition to our board's bylaws. The zoning board is a quasi-judicial land use board which differs from the township planning board. Under the municipal land use law, board members are required to be impartial and are not allowed to discuss any case prior to being considered at a hearing. All applicants will have the opportunity to present their case before the board, along with the opportunity for board members and board professionals to question the applicant and their witnesses. At the conclusion of the applicant's presentation of their case, the case will open to the public. Residents within 200 feet of the subject property will be heard, followed by residents from outside of 200 feet. All residents will be sworn in. They'll provide their name and address, and they'll be given 6 minutes to comment on the application being considered without the opportunity for a rebuttal. Residents may ask questions of the applicant's professionals, and board professionals. The board requests that these questions are asked prior to any commentary being made on the application. Once commentary begins, the resident's timer will begin. The applicant will be allowed the opportunity for cross-examination of their witnesses. Under the law, the chair is allowed to stop any commentary which is repetitive or an attempt to filibuster the board. Further, the chair is allowed to stop any commentary that is irrelevant to the case or prohibited from the board's consideration. Once the public portion is closed, all public comments are ended unless new testimony is presented by the applicant. Following the closure of the public portion, the applicant will have the right of summation on their application. Following summation, the case will go to the board for decision. This procedure has been followed by the board and is similar to procedures followed by boards of adjustment statewide. The municipal land use law requires the board to engage in a balancing act and is not required to strictly apply township ordinances, zoning plan, or master plan. As a board of adjustment, variances are granted when appropriately necessary, following all legal considerations. As has been the case with prior boards, this board will see where we're at if we are still in session around 10:30 p.m. I ask that all applicants, professionals, and residents show respect to each other and be civil throughout all proceedings. I ask that you withhold applause, booing, or interrupting anyone while they are speaking. The chair will not tolerate outbursts by applicants, professionals, or the public. Further, since most cases are being recorded by a court reporter, I ask that speakers do not speak over one another. Madam Secretary, first case on the agenda, please.
Case number Z34, 2023, Mohammed Zubair at 106 James Street. Applicant is proposing preliminary and final site plan approval and seeking bulk and de-use variances to construct a 3-story medical office building. Standards have not been met in accordance with the master plan. Parking required is 45, proposed is 20. Maximum height required is 30 feet slash 2-story, proposed is 32.83 feet slash 3-story. Maximum FAR required is 0.25, proposed is 0.34. Front yard setback required is 35 feet, proposed is 32.2 feet. Affected property is located in the OS zone, designated as block number 631, lot number 12.11 on the Edison Township tax map. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Good evening, council.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Lisa John Basta. I'm with the law firm Chiesa, Shahinian, and Jan Tomasi on behalf of the applicant. As was stated, the application that's before you this evening is for preliminary and final site plan approval along with variance relief. Some of the board members that were here may recall that this application was actually heard on 2 previous occasions, on February 27th, 2024 and June 25th, 2024, at which time the applicant actually completed its affirmative case, but the application was not open to the public at that point in time. There was a holding pattern since about 1.5 years ago, but the applicant recently asked for the application to be placed back on the board's agenda. We also provided copies of the transcripts from those last 2 hearings. So if it's okay with the chair, what we like to do is continue from where we left off. And if you'll indulge me, I will give a pretty lengthy summary of the application, but then we do have all of our professionals here, along with the applicant, to address any questions that the board may have and any questions that the public may have as well.
That's great. Please proceed. Thank you.
Okay, great. So to refresh the board's memory, the subject property is currently developed with a former residential home that was converted to a medical office. Dr. Zubair, the applicant, who specializes in pulmonary disease and sleep medicine, acquired the property for his medical practice, which is related to breathing and cardiopulmonary systems. Dr. Zubair would be the sole practitioner within the building, with assistance from one technician and 2 people working at the front desk. Dr. Zubair previously testified that his practice is affiliated with JFK Hospital, and many of his patients are residents of the township of Edison and the surrounding communities, where there's a huge shortage of physicians trained in pulmonary and infectious diseases. Due to the proximity of the property to the hospital, as well as the need for pulmonary care in the area, the proposed location was ideal for his medical practice. Dr. Zubair explained that after he acquired the property in 2020, he soon came to realize that the building could not function properly for the post-COVID world and with the new protocols for patient care, particularly for the types of patients that he treats with infectious diseases. This is the driving reason behind the proposal that's before the board to demolish the current building and replace it with a 3-story medical office building. As far as the building layout and use, well, this is one medical office practice. It essentially can be viewed as 2 separate components. Floors 1 and 2 is where the pulmonary care offices are. Their regular business hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., with extended hours on Wednesdays until 7. There are 5 exam rooms on each floor for a total of 10 exam rooms. The reason for the 10 rooms is twofold. First, instead of a traditional medical waiting room, due to the contagious nature of the diseases of the patients that he treats, patients are not placed in a communal waiting room. They are placed immediately within an exam room. Second is due to ventilation. Through his appointment booking, the doctor ensures that there's at least 30 minutes after a patient leaves the exam room before a new patient is placed in the room so that it can be properly ventilated. The second component of the practice is the 3rd floor, where sleep studies are proposed to occur. It's open only on the evening hours and 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The patients arrive around 9 p.m. The studies begin at 10 p.m. and conclude around 6 a.m. Because of the infectious nature of some of the patients, the standard protocol now requires that the room where the patient is breathing and sleeping for 6 to 8 hours be properly ventilated for a full 24 hours before the room can be used again. The application that is before the board is for DFAR variance. The medical office use itself is permitted. The floor area ratio variance is required for all the reasons just stated. The additional space is needed for the health, safety, and welfare of the patients to properly segregate patients that may have contagious diseases and properly ventilate the exam rooms in between patients. All other variances that are being requested are C variances, which would normally be heard before the planning board. As to the parking, considerable discussions related to the requested parking variance were had in the past. Per the township's parking requirements, which were enacted approximately 25 years ago when the world was a different place, when there was common communal areas, there wasn't urgent cares, there wasn't teledocs. There was a requirement to have 60 parking spaces based on Dr. Zubair as the medical practitioner and accounting for 1 tech, plus the square footage of the building. Whereas the proposed building has 20 parking spaces. Testimony was provided that from a practical standpoint, 20 parking spaces would never be filled at this building. With Dr. Zubair, 1 technician, 2 front desk people, and all 10 exam rooms being filled, which would be extremely rare, that would equate to 14 used parking spaces. We also heard the board's concerns that should the application be approved for another medical office user may occupy the space, that would have a more intense practice. And I believe we also appropriately addressed those concerns with the following. Our traffic engineer provided a parking assessment report to the board that looked at empirical data collected through the country relative to the parking needs of generic medical office buildings, medical and dental. for the entire building, not specific to Dr. Zubair's practice. The data showed that the peak parking demand was 2.63 per 1,000 square feet, which would equate to a parking need of 20 spaces. That is what is proposed with the current application. The township's police department also issued a letter on March 12, 2025, indicating that it had no concerns related to parking or traffic at the proposed use. Lastly, and for belt and suspenders, Dr. Zubair agreed that as a condition of any approval, the third floor would be limited to just sleep studies only. As for the height and the front yard setback that is being required, the permitted height is 30 feet, and what is proposed is 32.83 feet. As was testified to, the additional height was required for the need to place ventilation systems in between the floors. The height is also not out of character with the surrounding area and buildings fronting along James Street. With respect to the minimum required parking, front yard setback, 35 feet is required. Existing today is 32.2 feet, and the proposed is 32.3 feet. So the proposal is essentially maintaining the front yard setback that's out there today. We also considered some mitigations and conditions of approval here. I'll remind the board that this property is otherwise fully compliant with the bulk standards for development within the zone and the building coverage. It's well below the minimum permitted 25%, whereas the proposal is at 11.47% for building coverage. The applicant is also proposing mitigation measures on any impact that the building may have to surrounding properties with a very healthy landscape buffer, 177 evergreen trees, double planted, planting heights at 8 foot tall, and an 8 foot tall board-on-board fence. As conditions of approval, the applicant further agreed previously to comply with the review letters of the board, including engineering, planning, lowering the lighting levels at the property at 10:30 p.m., providing a building-mounted light to illuminate the driveway, would also provide a security cameras on the exterior of the building, and agreed to limit the third floor to sleep studies only. So with that, that is a very long and detailed summary that I don't normally give, but I thought it was appropriate in this instance. We are available, like I said, to answer any questions of both the board and the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Does the board have any questions for Ms. John Basta?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Duave?
so the pure purpose of this facility is to be used as pulmonary and sleep study only, correct?
Pulmonary and sleep study, yes,
And you are not planning to add any other medical use on this property?
correct.
And it could be, if you change any other reason, pulmonary or sleep study, add any medical use, you understand you may have to come back to this board for adding or subleasing this property.
Understood, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Duave. Anyone else? Okay, all right. Counsel, you good?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so we'll now go out to the public. Anyone within 200 feet of subject site wanting to be heard, please approach. If you're within 200 feet of the subject site, you received a notice via certified mail. Anyone outside of 200 feet wanting to be heard? Last call. Sir?
Good evening, how are you? Hanan Arshad, 114 Adderwall Road. I just wanted to speak on behalf of the building that's being proposed at 106 James Street. As someone who's known Dr. Zubair for quite a long time, he's actually probably seen me growing up. He's been a family physician for a long time, a family friend for a long time. Many of you might actually know my uncle, Sam Khan, who was in the ICU at JFK for over a month. To speak to the character and credibility of someone like Dr. Zubair, he actually went to JFK when my uncle was in the ICU 3 times a day. Mind you, I work at Memorial Sloan. I saw him beat me to get to JFK for the 3rd time in that day. So to speak to the credibility of a physician like that, to the caliber, I would say there's not many physicians of his level. I wouldn't be surprised if one day he's actually awarded health commissioner at some point. A lot of the patients that he sees at JFK, mind you, I'm speaking as someone who is from a competing hospital, a lot of them go to see him in Woodbridge. So it's inefficient. It's inefficient for our roads, it's inefficient for his patients, and he makes the trek out there. I think having this building would be very, very efficient for those patients. He can see them easy, they can see him, go back and forth, he can be right there. right? He has all his resources there. He can jump right over to JFK Hospital. And they're not trekking out or giving an urgent call. And as we know, JFK, you're not there when you want to be. So having a physician of this caliber, of this level, of all his experience, I think it's also good for us in Edison. We'll take him away from Woodbridge, and again, it'll be good for us here in Edison. So I really do hope you support this, and I hope that we see more physicians like Dr. Zubair stay within Edison instead of seeing them leave to other towns and other areas where there might be more opportunities for a building like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Anyone else with outside 200 feet want to be heard? Sir?
My name's Pradeep Malhotra, and I live at the corner of Pradeep Malhotra, Pradeep, and the last name is Malhotra, Malhotra. And I live at the corner of James and Grove, which is very close to where he bought the building. And
Sir, we're actually going to have our attorney swear you in.
Yeah. What's that?
If you could raise your right hand, we're going to have our attorney swear you in.
Yep,
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in your testimony here tonight?
absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. You may proceed.
I live at the corner of James and Grove, and I've been living there for many years. I know Dr. Zubair for many, many years, and I've been to his clinic in Woodbridge all the time. I think it'll be great that he's moving here because not only is he close to JFK, but he's very close to where the whole community is, where I live. And I think they all use him a lot. And I think he's a great doctor, and it would be really helpful to have him there.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. Anyone else outside 200 feet want to be heard? Last call. Can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close public portion?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Schneider, seconded by Mr. Patel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Public portion is now closed. Ms. John Boss, do you have anything to add before we go to the board?
I think I gave a long enough summary. I would just ask for all
Summary
the
of your
reasons stated.
Summary of your summary?
The board, please look favorably upon the application. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I'll go to the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dave.
I make a motion to approve this application. The applicant has met all of the negative and positive criteria. The site is particularly suited for the intended use. The use is not detriment to the public good or public safety. This motion will also incorporate all of the testimony of the previous and current testimony of the applicant, attorney, planners, engineers, and members of the board, as well as incorporate all of the conditions as agreed. Also, the applicant agrees that if for any reason this facility will be used for any other use but pulmonary practice and sleep study, then applicant agrees to come back to this board for the further approval.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Dave, seconded by Mr. Schneider. Roll call, please.
Sorry, before we go to roll call, I apologize for interrupting. I just want to make sure, are we including the other conditions of approval that were mentioned during the summary? Just so I want to make sure the motion's clear. Yeah, that included lowering lighting at 10:30, mounted lights, security cameras, and limiting the third floor to sleep studies?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Thank you, Counsel. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Dave?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kamba?
Yes on the motion. Unanimous approval. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for your
so
time.
much. Thank you very much. Good luck. Madam Secretary, next case on the agenda, please.
Case number Z27, 2025, Vikas Sharma at 36 Rainford Road. Applicant is seeking a bulk variance to construct the second-story addition and add a level to the existing attached single-family home. The following standards have not been met. Affected property is located in the PRD zone designated as block number 1240, lot number 17 on the Edison Township tax map. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Good evening, Counsel.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Peter Wagner. I'm with the law firm of Richard Lupo LLC. I represent the applicant, Vikas Sharma. This application concerns a request for a bulk variance to construct a second-story and side addition to 36 Rainford Road, also known as Block 1240, Lot 17, the Edison tax map, which is a residential single-family attached duplex. The property is zoned PRD, or Planned Residential Development. We are requesting one D bulk variance under Section 3711.9 G3C, where the width of the proposed side yard is proposed at 5 1/8 feet, and the required width is 15 feet. I would note that in this particular case, the proposed plans were specifically agreed to by the neighboring duplex owner. We were previously heard on November 18th, 2025. At that time, a question arose regarding the floor area ratio and why that was not on the plan that was submitted to the board. I think we've clarified that by reviewing the ordinance and coming back for more testimony with the planner in this particular case. A review of Section 37-11.9G contains the developmental regulations for single-family attached homes in the PRD zone, and no floor area ratio requirement is included in that section. I have planner John Chadwick here to present to the board the remainder of our application is from a planning standpoint. Mr. Robert Hernandez had previously reviewed the plan with the board on November 18th. He is here to answer any questions or continue with any sort of presentation the board would like. And of course, I have the applicant here, Mr. Sharma, as well, who you can ask questions of. So with that, I would ask Mr. Chadwick to come up and make his presentation.
Sir, before you begin, if I could just swear you in. Okay, yeah. Okay. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in your testimony here tonight? Yes. Can you state your name and address, business address for the record?
John Chadwick. Mr. Chadwick, if we just go, you can take a seat first and then speak to the microphone. Thank you so much.
John Chadwick, Chadwick. My professional address is 3176 Route 27.
Oh, Mike, a little closer to you.
Route 27, Kendall Park.
And Ms. Chadwick, you have appeared before this board prior. If you could just give the board the benefit of a brief summary of your qualifications and background.
Yes, I have. I've been working as a professional planner serving municipalities and private developers for several decades. I have an undergraduate degree from Rutgers, a graduate degree from Pratt Institute with a master's in city and regional planning and architectural design. And I've appeared before this board and probably several hundred and qualified as a professional planner.
And your license are current and in good standing?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You may proceed.
I don't know if everybody received a copy of two aerials. I think this goes to the end of our session back in November.
Ms. Chadwick, I'm just going to stop you 1 second. Counsel, you're going to submit this as A1?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And the top photograph shows the location of the site, the development in the immediate vicinity, and the configuration of the lot. One of the issues was the addition to the side of this home, would it make it appear to be crowded compared to all the other homes in the neighborhood? And you see the orientation of Mr. Sharma's home and the home adjacent to the addition. And what you have there is a wide separation because of the configuration of the lot being on the inside of the curve. So where you have a standard 15-foot side yard requirement, in this particular case, the existing separation of the corner of Mr. Sharma's home and his neighbors is roughly 50 feet. And I did that just taking a simple surveyor's tape and measuring it. So with the addition, you still would have a separation in excess of the minimum required side yards. More importantly, what would be the impact to the streetscape as you drove down, and as you would see these homes, and you can see the homes in this area, for those who've had the opportunity to drive out there, almost all of the homes now are two-story, have been added on to over the years. This development was created in the early 1990s. Mr. Sharma's home was one of the few remaining that is like a one-story home. And you heard the testimony from the architect and the applicant as to the nature of the occupancy of his house. It's him, his children, and almost year-round, one of the sets of the in-laws. So you've got basically a diverse, multi-generational household, which is not uncommon in this community. I think in terms of both the configuration of the lot, the resulting separation, and the improvement to the home to really match what is existing throughout this neighborhood now, it meets all of the criteria for approval of under the C2 standard, or in the case of C1 standard being provide additional land, there is no additional land, so it doesn't apply. We can't meet that. Under C1, we're providing for I think, a well-planned solution, given the configuration of the lot, its orientation to the adjoining building, and the meeting the needs of this particular household, which is not a unique situation in the township, but is a common situation.
Mr. Chadwick, I'm going to stop you for 1 second. Gentlemen in the back of the room, can you please take your conversation out of the chamber? You're distracting the board. Ms. Chadwick, you may proceed. You can proceed. Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry. I wanted to hear you.
I'm sorry.
I wanted to hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
In terms of, as I said, really my conclusion, if you've driven through the neighborhood, you can see that almost all of the homes have been expanded and similar to what the proposal is before you. What is a little unique is the configuration of this lot as I described it. And you have in the two photographs, the aerial showing the relationship of this house to its neighbor. And you can see it's quite a bit larger separation than normal, and that's because it's on the inside of the curve. Consequently, the width of the lot at the streetscape is much wider than a house that's exactly perpendicular to the street. And the accompanying photograph is just showing the space between the adjoining house and Mr. Sharma's home with some construction debris in the front yard. As I said, I believe this conforms to and the requirements for proof and approval of a C2 variance, and I ask for your approval.
Okay.
Any questions if you may have?
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Chadwick?
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman?
So your testimony is you have not submitted an FAR?
We're going to turn to Mr. Ayala.
Oh, there's no FAR for the attached homes. Detached homes, detached single family, not attached.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Chadwick? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Counsel?
Yes. Unless the board has some questions for the architect or any further questions for the applicant, I would submit that as our application. I think that I think it's clear that the testimony reflects that granting the side yard variance will not be a substantial detriment to the public good, not substantially impair the intent or purpose of the master plan. And I also think that in this particular case, Mr. Chadwick's testimony makes clear that the shape of this particular lot means that there are many fewer other designs that would fit on the lot that would allow my client to be able to build onto the existing property in a way that he needs to. So I would submit that as our application, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so we will now go out to the public. Anyone within 200 feet of subject site wanting to be heard, if you're within 200 feet of subject site, you received a notice via certified mail. Anyone outside of 200 feet of subject site wanting to be heard? Seeing none, can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close public portion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Schneider, seconded by Mr. Patel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Public portion is now closed. Council, do you have any other summation, anything to add before we go to the board? No. Okay, all right, so we'll go to the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dabe.
I make a motion to approve this application. Applicant will comply with the current, building construction bylaws and codes. This is a de minimis request. It is not detriment to the neighborhood. It enhances the neighborhood and not out of character with the neighborhood, and there are no objectors.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Dave, seconded by Mr. Sadata. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Chhabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Zavey?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Gumba?
Yes on the motion. Unanimous approval. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Board.
Madam Secretary, next case on the agenda, please.
Next case on the agenda is case number Z33, 2025, NHDP LLC at 136 Floyd Street. Applicant is seeking bulk and D-use variances to construct a second-story addition. The following standards have not been met. Max FAR required is .25, proposed is .41. Affected property is located in the RA zone, designated as block number 956, lot number 8.01, on the Edison Township tax map. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Good evening, Mr. Prasad.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. David Prasad, licensed attorney in the state of New Jersey from the firm Bob Smith & Associates, here tonight representing the applicant, NHDP LLC, for properties located at 136 Floyd Street, Edison, New Jersey, block 956, lot 8.01 in the RA zone. Tonight, the applicant is here seeking a second-story attic-level to the existing single-family home. The addition will be approximately 1,490 square feet. The main reason we are here before the zoning board is because there is an FAR variance for the site where 25% is permitted and 41% is proposed. The reason for such a high FAR variance is because this site is only 8,000 square feet, where the zone requires 20,000 square feet. My client had purchased this site in May of 2025. The existing two-bedroom house is existing on that site. No other changes have been done since the purchase. As I mentioned, we are seeking an FAR variance for 41%, but there are also a number of existing bulk variances. These variances have been existing with the site since the lot was purchased. Starting with a minimum lot area where 20,000 square feet is required and 8,000 square feet is proposed. Minimum lot width where 100 feet is required and 80 feet is proposed and existing. Minimum lot depth where 150 feet is required and 100 feet is existing. Front yard setback where 35 feet is required and 24.3 feet is existing. Side yard setback where 15 feet on one side or 30 feet on both sides is required, and 12.7 feet or 26.7 feet is existing. Rear yard setback where 60 feet is required and 31.5 feet is existing. Accessory side yard setback where 10 feet is required and 4.6 feet is existing. Accessory rear yard setback where 10 feet is required and 2 feet is existing. Maximum lot coverage where 15% is required and 23.1% is existing. And maximum impervious coverage where 30% is required and 34% is existing. Now, I did mention that this site is significantly undersized. It is an 8,000 square foot lot where 20,000 feet is required. This is how the site was, and this is how it was purchased. A reason for all these existing variances, given the existing house on this lot, is because of the undersized nature of the lot. As I mentioned, the existing house on the site is a two-bedroom home. My client is seeking to do a addition for a second story to modernize the home, bring it into conformity with some other houses in the neighborhood. And frankly, the only reason we are seeking an FAR is due to the severely undersized lot. I did hand out a Exhibit A1 for you, marked and dated with today's date, that shows the existing home and then also a general rendering of what the home will look like with the second story addition, seeing that it is more modified. And we have our architect here to discuss that in detail. With that, if the board has no questions of me, I do have our our licensed architect, Mr. David Dugas, here to answer some questions or to provide testimony as well.
Does the board have any preliminary questions for Mr. Prasad? Seeing none, you may proceed.
If I can call Mr. Dugas and have him sworn in.
If you raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in your testimony here tonight?
I do.
Can you say your name and business address for the record?
My name is David Dugas. I am a partner at Dugas Architects. I'm located at 24 Egan Avenue in Fords, New Jersey.
And Mr. Dugas, can you please give the board the benefit of your credentials?
Yes, I've testified here and numerous boards throughout Middlesex County and a couple in Union County. Licensed since 1998 and worked on several projects. Many projects in Edison.
Your license are current and good standing?
It is.
We'll accept. You may proceed. Thank you.
Mr. Dugas, the applicant hired you to generate a floor plan and elevations for the home and the proposed addition to the home, correct?
That is correct.
Can you please give the board a rundown of the architectural design and layout?
When we first approached the home, the existing home is a ranch-style home with an attached garage. And we did some analysis of the home itself. The home consists of a entry foyer, living room, small dining area with an attached kitchen, a powder room, laundry area, an enclosed porch, and 2 bedrooms. Looking at the home and trying to see what the need was in the area, what's matching in the area, we had formulated a plan to convert that home to a center hall colonial with a new portico and entry. So you would have a new portico, you would have an open foyer, stair going up, which is modern, a smaller living room, which is not as needed, a dining room, a new kitchen with a island and extra work area, and we would have a family room, and the rear corner we convert into a bedroom suite, which seems to be needed in the area. We added a second floor to increase the number of bedrooms. We increased it to have a master bedroom suite with its own bath and a walk-in closet. 3 additional bedrooms, 1 with its own ensuite bath, and then 2 would have a Jack and Jill bath. Off the master bedroom suite to continue, we added a small den/office area, and we bought a laundry up to the second floor for ease of use. That's basically the rundown of the home itself.
And the proposal tonight is not to expand the footprint of the home, but just to add a level to the home. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have a small bump out just for windows. It's really like it's 16 square feet. It's basically just to kind of make the house not so uniform, to kind of give it some character. But other than that, there's no additional space being placed on the property.
I have no further questions for Mr. Dugas, if the board does have any questions.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Dugas?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Chhabra.
I have a question for the architect.
Okay.
So the first story is staying the same. You're doing an extension to the second story.
Yeah, there is a small bump out. We're going to have like a walkout a walkout bay kind of condition for the windows, just to kind of break up the flat facade. But everything is being built straight up, except we're not building up over the porch.
So the frame for the first story is going to stay the same?
It's going to stay the same.
Okay, and I see that here, the first story is it's going to be 9 feet. Is that accurate? Right now, currently, the house has 9-foot ceilings on
No,
the first
we're
floor?
going to raise that to kind of, because the back area is so large, you just kind of want to make it like proportional to the space.
Okay. Second question is that I see that there is a sunroom in the back. And you guys will be converting that sunroom into a bedroom. Is there any existing permits or anything, or any variances that has been on the record making that conforming, or?
I'm not aware of it. We proposed what we have, so I don't think there's an issue with that.
Okay, but there's no records. Does the current square footage include that three-season sunroom in
Yes,
the back?
the square footage I'm showing includes that, yes.
I'm talking about the originals, like what's on the tax records right now. Like, is that permitted use that we're incorporating into the house, into a bedroom? That sunroom that's in the back of the house, is that part of the house existingly? Because according to that, the variance is seeking, it is non-conforming and it's there. It's shown in the papers, but I'm asking if it's been cleared.
Documented? I don't know if it's been documented through the tax records now.
Okay.
You're asking me if the existing home has been documented, is that for an enclosure?
Correct, because that enclosure is being converted into a bedroom now. So my question is that enclosure, is it existingly in the record as a livable space, or are we granting that? Because your rear setback is going from 60 feet, which is required, I understand it's a small lot, to 31 feet. So out of which almost 11 feet is that sunroom in the back, according to your survey.
Okay.
So my major concern here is that you're going from a 3-season sunroom into a full bedroom, into living space. Was that previously approved or not? That was my question.
That I can't testify to. I don't know if it was previously approved.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, thank you very much.
For the testimony, I have our professional engineer and professional planner, Mr. John DuPont, if the board can swear him in.
Raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in your testimony here tonight?
I do.
Do you state your name and address for the record?
John P. DuPont, JPD Engineering, 756 Jackson Road, Stewartsville, New Jersey.
Mr. DuPont, you have appeared before this board prior, but if you could please provide us with a brief summary of your background qualifications.
Absolutely. So I'm a professional engineer and professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I'm also a certified municipal engineer. I've served as the Borough of Carteret Planning and Zoning Board engineer and planner for the past 28 years. I've been in front of your board numerous times as both an engineer and planner. All my licenses are currently in good standing.
Okay, and just for the record, you're going to be accepted as an engineer and planner.
Both, yes,
Great.
sir.
You may proceed. Thank you.
Mr. DuPont, you've created the plans for this site, and you've also prepared planning testimony. I will leave it to you on which one you would like to do first, but if you can please give the narrative to the board.
I certainly will. So from an engineering standpoint, as you heard, this project, the footprint's not changing. It's the existing dwelling now, no expansion of the footprint whatsoever. So from an engineering standpoint, there's no changes. There's no revised grading. There's no expansion. There's no swales needed. There's no increased impervious. There's no increase in drainage areas or any kind of runoff whatsoever. So it stays exactly the same. Now, from a planning standpoint, so the property is, as you've heard, a significantly undersized lot. Currently developed, has a single-family dwelling on it, and the property does have several pre-existing non-conforming conditions. Very quickly, lot area, lot width, lot depth, front yard setback, side yard setback, rear yard setback, accessory structures, issues with side and rear yard for accessory, lot coverage for building, lot coverage complete, impervious. These conditions are not a result of the current application, but rather outstanding conditions associated with the property. The proposed application, the applicant's proposing to construct a second-story addition to the existing dwelling. Importantly, there is no expansion of the building footprint. There is no increase in lot coverage. There are no further encroachment in any setback requirement. The only new variance required as part of this application will be for floor area ratio. So the application is characterized as follows. It's continuation of existing bulk variances. One new variance, which is a D4 FAR variance, and we use the flexible C2 criteria to prove our case. The positive criteria. The applicant satisfies the positive criteria, in my opinion, under the municipal land use law. The proposed development represents a better planning alternative than knocking down an existing house and building a larger one. And it does advance several purposes of the MLUL. Purpose A, E, and I. We're promoting a desirable visual environment through the improvement and modernization of an existing dwelling. We're providing appropriate living space for a residential use consistent with the zone plan and the neighborhood. We're encouraging the rehabilitation and reinvestment in existing housing stock rather than demolition and potentially new development. The proposed second-story addition allows the applicant to improve the functionality of the home without increasing the building footprint or site disturbance, which is a superior planning outcome. Critical aspect of the application is that the proposed development does not intensify any existing nonconformity related to setbacks, lot coverage, or building footprint. All existing deficiencies will remain unchanged. And in that regard, the application is inherently less impactful than many other types of expansions. As far as FAR goes, the FAR variance is modest in nature and arises solely from the vertical expansion of a structure and the fact that this lot is so small. The requirement in the zone is 20,000 square feet. This existing lot, previously subdivided, is only 8,000 square feet. The increase in floor area occurs within the existing footprint only. The proposed improvement is consistent with modern residential living standards. The scale and massing of the structure will remain compatible with the surrounding neighborhood, where two-story dwellings are common. I do have an exhibit. I think we passed it out to the board.
Yes, that exhibit is marked as A2.
It's a pretty basic exhibit, but what I wanted to show the board tonight was that there are 3 other properties on our block that received an FAR variance for bigger dwellings. Now, these lots are almost all 3 of them actually, are larger lots than we have, and their dwellings are larger than we are proposing. They're all 2-story, and they've all been awarded FAR variances. As far as the negative criteria, I think the applicant also satisfies that. There is no substantial detriment to the public good. There is no increase in impervious coverage. There is no new encroachments into a setback. The improvement will not adversely impact light, air, open space, drainage, or stormwater. No substantial impairment to the zone plan will result. The deviation is limited to FAR only. The overall site layout remains unchanged. The proposal is consistent with the existing development pattern in the surrounding neighborhood. In conclusion, the application represents a reasonable and well-balanced improvement to the existing residential property. It allows for modernization of the home while maintaining existing footprint, avoiding any increase in inconformities, advancing sound planning principles. The request can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good, without impairment of the intent and purpose of your zone plan and zoning ordinances. I respectfully request that the board grant the requested variance. And that concludes my testimony.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Dupont?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dave?
What is the current FAR, the way the house is now?
I'm sorry, Mr. Davitt, can you please repeat that question?
The current FAR, because I don't see
Oh, for the
that.
existing house?
Yeah.
today? It is 0.21.
That includes the solar on the backside, the extension where you try to convert into bedroom?
It does,
That
includes that.
one is 0.20?
Yes.
Okay. And then you are proposing to finish the basement as well now, correct? It is unfinished basement now?
Do we know that?
Sorry, we have the architect coming up to answer that question. That's okay.
It's partially finished, but it's not to code. So we want to correct that and refinish it.
And then it has the step down from inside, or it has the
Currently, it's
exterior?
through the garage.
Through the garage now? Okay. Now you are changing it to make it stair to go down to the basement.
Yeah, to make it more functional.
And
Right now, you
then
have to go through the garage to get to it, and
You're
the
finishing
staircase
that
itself
basement as
doesn't
well.
meet code either. So we're trying to correct that.
and you are finishing that basement as well, correct?
That's
Complete.
correct.
And you are adding second floor on top of the finishing the basement.
Correct.
Right.
Not over the entire building, though. We're not going over the porch. We're just going over the main part of the building.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Davey.
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman?
Yeah, in reference to Exhibit A2 with the existing properties in the neighborhood, and you have, your testimony is that there's existing properties that were approved with an FAR. Do you have those FAR numbers that were approved?
I have the numbers based on the agendas that were looked up for those FARs. Give me 1 second. For 903 New Dover, the FAR that was approved was 35%. For 124 Floyd, it was approved for 31%. And then for 870, I'm sorry, 5 Hollywood, it was also approved for 35%. And again, those lots are already much bigger than our lot.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Dupont? Mr. Dupont, I have a question. So 0.35, 0.31, 0.35. Your request is 0.41.
They are significantly larger lots. When we put a second story on this building, in this neighborhood, it's still going to be one of the smaller homes on the block. It's just a smaller lot. It was subdivided, I don't know how long ago, but if you look at that exhibit we submitted, it's significantly smaller. The home right next door is 2 stories and probably twice the size. The homes down the end of the block, significantly bigger. We're not overbuilding in the neighborhood.
What
We're
about
still-
not about 5 Hollywood, just looking at your
Yes.
your exhibit, 5 Hollywood looks
It's-
like it's.
it's a
let me
very-
let me finish. I feel like I'm at home. I'm getting interrupted. Let me finish. 5 Hollywood appears to me just from that's the same size, similar size lot.
It's significantly bigger, and the house is significantly bigger.
Okay.
Also, that exhibit kind of
Yeah, I
cuts
cut
off
off the
the
side
lot.
of it.
Oh, yeah, so, all
Yeah,
right.
it's not the
All
actual
right.
side.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Any other questions for Mr. Dupont?
Yeah.
Mr. Dave.
Mr. Chairman, let me propose this. You have 0.20 FAR now as current, house, the way it's standing now, correct?
0.21.
0.20. 0.25 is required. You are asking for 0.41.
Correct.
You also have a lot of non-conforming, existing conditions. The minimum lot area in this neighborhood is 20,000 square feet. You have 8,000 square feet small lot. You guys recognize that. What you're asking is that the first floor, you're adding a 1-bedroom in the back of the rear of the property. Would you be willing to get rid of the 1-bedroom? That would better the FAR. It will also improve the rear yard setback.
If you can give me 1 minute, I'll just like to ask the
Yeah,
applicant.
the first floor, you're not adding second floor on the first floor bedroom. Get rid of the bedroom. It would improve your FAR, come close to what we have in the neighborhood.
After speaking with the applicant, he is willing to remove that bedroom that is currently going to be where the sunroom is.
Can architect just get me if you get rid of that 14 by 10 and a half square feet on the first floor, what the FAR would change to? Can you do some quick calculation?
Do you want to take a few minutes?
Yeah, if we can have a few
Okay.
minutes, please.
5 minutes?
Sure.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll return to session. Mr. Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did some quick calculations for removing that first-story bedroom, which was a converted sunroom, and I'll leave it to Mr. DuPont to explain the calculations.
So two things happen when we remove that sunroom. One, the FAR does go down to 0.39. So it does reduce it by 140 square feet.
0.29?
0.39. It also improves the rear yard setback. The rear yard setback currently is 31.5. The rear yard setback becomes 41.8. So I think that's even a bigger improvement that another board member was asking about.
So after speaking with the applicant, he is willing to remove that bedroom from the floor plan.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions for Mr. DuPont?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Sabe?
Comparing the neighborhood properties where you have 35%, 31%, 30%, this being a small lot, is there any way you can do better, come in range of 32, 33%? This is simply too small a lot. Now, let me ask you, who's living in the house now?
No, but it's vacant right now. It is vacant.
What's the purpose of adding this second story now? Is it a hardship? What's a family issue? Why we are adding in such a small lot, second floor?
Well, the existing home is only a two-bedroom house. And as you know, the homes in Edison have been growing and growing, and this is one of those houses that we plan for a multi-generational house, or actually a larger family home. A two-bedroom home is not very practical. It's not very modern. It doesn't really suit the current living standards. So the idea is to bring it to match the other homes in the neighborhood and also just provide a new modern style home in a neighborhood that is full of updated homes.
Yeah, but those houses have bigger lot, though.
That's correct. And unfortunately, this lot is it's a small lot, and that's how it's been existing. And as we mentioned, all the bulk variances that are, I will say, plaguing this lot are due to the fact that it's undersized.
When did the applicant buy the property?
Applicant purchased the property in May of 2025. All conditions were existing.
And it's still sitting there vacant since then?
That is correct.
So there is no hardship to add on second floor? Just want to add additional floors there?
Well, it's more of to modernize the home, enhance the neighborhood, provide a home in the township that matches most other homes in the township.
It does not, though. FAR is not matching the other neighborhood properties.
Well, if I can ask Mr. DuPont,
I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Can you guys do it 0.3, 0.32, 0.33?
I think that would take
Mr.
some
Chairman.
revisions to the plan, but if you give me another second or so, I can talk to Mr. DuPont. Taking so long. We had a conversation with the client. Oh, there we go. We had a conversation with the applicant. He is willing to reduce the footprint and the overall addition to the home. He is willing to bring it down to 35% FAR. I feel like that is more compliant with the other homes in the area. Again, it's going to be a smaller house than all the other homes in the area because of the lot size, but I think 35% FAR is on par with what the other homes have been approved for, if the board will accept that proposal.
You want to come back with that kind of the plan for review?
Well, I would ask the board attorney if we agree to the condition that we won't exceed 35% FAR, if we can, and we submit building plans compliant with that, if that's acceptable.
You need to provide, at a minimum, some detail as to how you would you would do that.
Understood. Okay, so we'd have to come back with revised plans.
I mean,
I think we would just reduce the second story addition. That's how we do it. The first floor right now is 1688. I think we'd make the second floor addition to get us to a maximum of 2,800 square feet, which would result in FAR of 0.35. So we reduce the second story addition. And we will comply with your professional staff and your reports and all, but we'll show that.
So I would say with that level of detail, it's up to the board if they believe it's.
I think we'd like to see.
Would like to see, yeah.
Floor plans. Yeah. I think we would like to see the floor plans.
Okay.
How you're going to bring it down to 0.335.
Okay, we understand.
Mr. Chairman, I would agree.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
How long do you, would you estimate you need?
I'll ask the architect very
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah. And then what I'll also do is I'll ask the secretary to start looking at our calendar and see what works.
If possible, if we can be on the, what's the next hearing date? I'm sorry.
We have April 21st available. Or May 12th, if that's better.
April 21st, we can do.
April 21st?
Okay. All right. Excellent. So for anyone here present, for anyone listening at home, this case will be continued on Tuesday, April 21st, with the meeting beginning here at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. You've received a notice. You will not receive another notice. This will serve as your notice. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Thank you, Board Chair. Thank you, members. Have a good night.
Madam Secretary, next case on the agenda, please.
Case number Z25, 2025, Hazabell Northeast LLC at 32 Parsonage Road. Applicant is seeking preliminary and final site plan with use D variances and bulk variances to demolish the existing structure and construct a new one-story with drive-through restaurant. Standards have not been met in accordance with the master plan. Drive-throughs are not a permitted use in this zone. Affected property is located in the GBH zone, designated as block number 686, lot number 10.03 on the Edison Township tax map. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Good evening, Mr. Hale.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, and staff and board professionals. Stephen Hale, representing the applicant, Hazabell of Northeast LLC. Great to see you all this evening, and thanks again for your efforts. This is an application to demolish the existing T-Mobile building that's at the site and construct a new Taco Bell facility. Brian's handing out some exhibits here, and we'll have those marked and identified.
Just give it to the secretary, okay? Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank having the TRCs, and we actually had 2 TRCs in connection with this application. Very helpful, helps us address comments and concerns of that committee that we think makes a much better project. We are before the zoning board. This is across, as everyone knows, across from the mall. Technically, the drive-throughs are not permitted. They're conditional uses in this zone, but they would have to be part of a shopping center. So the standalone is what triggers the D variance. We will have professional planning testimony to address that. We have received your planning reports, engineering reports, and are prepared to address them. And modifications have been made to the plans, and Brian will explain those since the initial submission and then ultimately what is before the board this evening. So again, thank you again for your time and attention. Again, looking to demolish the existing structure, put in a new Taco Bell facility, and you'll see from the exhibits and the presentation, extensive landscaping is being proposed now, providing significantly more buffer to the residential area behind the site and throughout the area, new lighting, landscaping, et cetera. So that's an overview of the application, Mr. Chairman. And what I'd like to do first is to call upon Brian Entz from Bowler Engineering to take us through existing conditions and what's proposed by way of improvements. And Brian, you're going to have to be sworn.
Yes.
All right, great. Our attorney will swear you in.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in your testimony here tonight?
I do.
Can you state your name and give us your business address for the record, please?
Yep. Brian Ennis, Bryanehnes. I work for Bowler Engineering. Our business address is 125 Half Mile Road, Suite 207 in Red Bank, New Jersey. And I am a professional engineer. I've been a professional engineer for the last 10 years. My license is in good standing, and I've been with Bowler for about 15 years.
First time appearing before us?
Yes, this
All
one,
right,
yes.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
accept you, thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, so, Mr. Ensis, if you could please provide the board, as I mentioned, with an overview of existing conditions at the site, and then what's proposed by way of improvements. And he's also going to touch on, because he's well familiar with it, the operational information.
So if you want to speak to the board, that's, speak to the exhibit, that's fine, just bring the microphone with you.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you very much.
So I guess should I just go through each exhibit, maybe mark them so it's easier to reference as I'm going through my testimony?
That's fine.
Okay. So what I'll do is Exhibit A1 will be the aerial exhibit prepared by Bowler, dated August 5th, 2025. And that is the first one in the packet that was handed out and the one in the bottom left corner at the easel over there. The second one is Exhibit A2, which is a site layout plan, sheet C-301, the second one in your packet, prepared by Bowler, dated January 5th, 2026. And then the third one will be A3, which is essentially the architectural elevations, sheets A-4.0 and 4.1, dated February 27th, 2026, prepared by Zelta Design. And that's the third two-page set in your packet. And then just going back to kind of orient the board with the project, the property, existing conditions, and then move into proposed. The property is block 686, lot 10.03. The address of the property is 32 Parsonage Road, and the lot size is approximately 0.52 acres. The lot has a width of 100 feet and a depth of about 225 feet. The site has frontage along both Mason Street and Parsonage Road, and Parsonage Road is also known as Middlesex County Route 657. The site, as mentioned, is located in the G-BH General Business Zone, where drive-through uses are not permitted unless they're in a shopping center. And I think the board probably knows this area pretty well. It's right near Menlo Park Mall, but just some of the surrounding uses. To the north is the Goodyear Auto Service and commercial and retail uses beyond. To the east is multifamily apartment complex. To the south is Mason Street with Valvoline across the street. And then to the west is Parsonage Road with the Menlo Park Mall across the street from there. The existing conditions consist of a T-Mobile retail building with an area of approximately 1,490 square feet. The current building does not actually comply with front yard setback to Mason Street. 34.1 is existing and 50 feet is the requirement, which the proposed application for Taco Bell will meet that requirement. It's also below the minimum gross floor area, which is required for 1,500 square feet, which the Taco Bell will also comply with. The site has two paved access driveways, a one-way drive to provide ingress via Parsonage Road to the west, and a full movement driveway to provide ingress via Mason Street to the south. The site has a total of 20 parking spaces under existing conditions, including 2 ADA spaces, as well as a trash enclosure in the northeast corner of the property, which actually does not comply with the accessory setback. It's essentially a 0-foot setback along the property line. The site also has an existing freestanding sign at the corner of Parsonage Road and Mason Street, which is essentially the same location we'll be proposing the Taco Bell freestanding sign. Just to note, the sign does not comply with the required setback, as 15 is required and 4.1 feet is what's actually existing. As mentioned earlier, the proposed project is to demolish and essentially reconstruct the entirety of the site. And having kind of said that, I'll move to what I marked as Exhibit A2, which is essentially the site plan sheet that was provided in the package to the board. For presentation purposes, and the reason it's marked is it's colorized, rendered, landscaping is also dropped on the layout to kind of enhance the presentation and also combine some of the sheets in the package. It was also mentioned briefly too, we did have multiple meetings with the TRC, and just to give you a little bit of history of what was changed since the original application is we have reduced the building by 285 square feet, and this allowed us to enhance our width of the buffer to the residential setback, or the property line, I should say, from what's existing today with the T-Mobile of about 4 feet. We originally came in with 10 feet, and based on some feedback we received, we actually made the building smaller and increased that 10 feet to 15. It's still about 5 feet off the 20 that's required based on the building height, but it is enhanced compared to what's there currently. And I will note that we have a significant amount of landscaping, which I'll get to in a little bit more detail, as well as an 8-foot-high board-on-board fence proposed along that rear residential property line. Just to get into a little bit more of the layout, so the proposed Taco Bell is a drive-through restaurant, again, not permitted in this zone unless it's part of a shopping center. It's 2,114 square feet in size, coming down from the 2,400 that was originally submitted. In terms of setbacks, we comply with the frontages along Parsonage and Mason Street, as well as all other bulk, with the exception of the side yard to the Goodyear to the north of the property or top of the page. There's actually a 1-foot deviation, so the requirement is 15 feet from that property line. We're proposing 14, but what I would like to note is the 14 feet is actually to the overhang above the drive-through window, and the building itself is actually offset 18 feet from that property line. So the 4-foot overhang for the drive-through window, obviously if you've been through a drive-through, in case it's raining or something like that, the overhang is what's actually protruding into the required setback. I would also like to mention a 25-foot by 11.3-foot trash enclosure is provided at the rear of the building or to the east. And as mentioned previously, the existing trash enclosure for T-Mobile is essentially tucked in the northeast corner, and we're bringing this trash enclosure on the other side of the drive-through or closer to the building, again, to just bring in the layout overall itself, as well as provide a little bit more screening to the residents in the rear to the east. As part of the improvements, we are proposing sidewalks, one throughout the site, but as well as reconstructing along the frontages of both Parsonage and Mason Street. As I mentioned previously, there's an 8-foot-high board-on-board fence that's proposed along the eastern property line, which again is separating the Taco Bell property from the residential in the rear. And then a 5-foot board-on-board fence along the northern property line where there actually is an existing wall separating the Goodyear from the proposed Taco Bell. In terms of access, circulation, parking, things like that, there's a 25-foot wide full movement driveway along Mason Street, basically tucked away in the southeast corner, a 15-foot wide one-way ingress and a 15-foot wide one-way egress. And another change that is made from the original application is we did have not a two-way, but one driveway combining both ingress and egress that was going from Parsonage into the site. Based on our application submitted with the county, they did have some feedback of changing it for the orientation you see here this evening. So instead of having one driveway, which was, again, an ingress and egress in the northwest corner, they asked if we could separate them, which eventually led to, in one of the professionals' letter, having a deviation from a driveway curb from the intersection of the curbing at the Mason and Parsonage intersection. So essentially, we're proposing around 18 feet, which again was directed by the county, where 25 feet is required. In terms of circulation on site, so once you enter from Parsonage or Mason Street, you could proceed through the drive-through. The drive-through is a 12-foot wide opening that can service and queue 9 cars. The stacking starts at the east of the building and ends at the northwest corner of the building. The payment pickup window is at the first car in the stack. A clearance bar is proposed, which is typical for these type of operations, for entering the drive-through, which gives you the clearance for that overhead canopy I was referring to earlier. And I would point out that the order point canopy is essentially located at the first car beyond the building to the east. So essentially the 5th car is where the ordering point would be. So you would have the menu board as well as the speaker, and that's about 87 feet from that rear property line. And I would like to just point out in terms of operations for Taco Bell, the ordering board includes a screen now to assist with ordering and hopefully limiting the back and forth in terms of conversation, as well as a volume control that actually senses ambient sound around and lowers or raises depending on the sound going on in the area.
Would you mind just, but sorry to interrupt
Yes,
you, but would you mind just taking the microphone and just going over to the exhibit and showing us the queuing, just because it'll save me a question later on?
Yes.
Thank you.
So essentially, and if you can see, there's actually numbering in the 9 blue cars. So the first car, which is the one that's furthest to the west or to the left side of the page, that's car 1, and that's essentially at the pickup window. So moving from there, the 5th car would be the first one that essentially, and I'll just point kind of to the top of the page here, that's where the ordering point is. And again, that's about 87 feet from the residential property line. And then as you kind of go through the rest of the queue, the remaining 4 gets you to the 9th car, which is essentially shown just inside the clearance bar there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem. The site does propose 20 parking spaces, where 15 are required. This is based on operations for Taco Bell. This is pretty typical for this size building. And I would note that of those 20 spaces, 1 is actually a van accessible ADA stall. 2 are mobile pickup stalls, which are essentially the first 2 spaces to the east at the rear of the building. And then 2 employee-only parking stalls, which are the ones located in the southwest corner of the property. And essentially those are dedicated to employee-only parking spaces, 1 for operations, but also if you notice, they are the ones closest to the driveway that's ingressing into the property. And the thought is employees will be lower turnover, use those spaces more, and know that they have to be on the lookout for a car potentially entering the site. Based on township code, there's actually no loading spaces required for this type of project, but deliveries will occur on site based on delivery from a WB40, which would enter the site from Mason Street, circulate, park in the drive aisle, unload, and then exit onto Parsonage Road. Deliveries occur about 2 times per week. They're off-peak hours, and again, entering from Mason and then exiting onto Parsonage. The route for trash pickup is the same route, essentially. Coming off of Mason Street, it would unload the trash from the trash enclosure, which is, again, located directly to the west of the drive-through, and then exit onto Parsonage. And trash pickup typically occurs also twice a week, but can be done more as needed. And it is a private hauler, so Taco Bell does have control of when the trash pickup is needed, should happen, things like that. A little bit more just on operations. The hours of operation are expected to be roughly 7 a.m. to midnight for the restaurant, and then 2 a.m. for the drive-through, which is pretty typical for Taco Bell operations. And the store will likely employ 15 to 20 people, with the typical shift being about 5 employees. Just to touch briefly on utilities and stormwater, all utilities are available to the site, and we will obtain approval from all providers, both on Parsonage and Mason connections. And then in terms of stormwater, the site is designed to maintain the current drainage pattern. It's not a major development based on disturbance and impervious coverage, and is about within 60 square feet of the existing conditions, with actually a larger building consisting of that impervious as opposed to motor vehicle or sidewalk. And as you can see, there is a significant amount of landscaping on this property that's part of the proposal. So just kind of walk you through what we're doing under existing conditions and what we're proposing. A total of 9 trees are proposed to be removed on site. 4 appear to be dead or dying and do not technically count towards a tree replacement calculation. And then 5 of the trees will be removed and replaced in compliance with the Township Tree Replacement Code. The site does comply with the number of replacement trees, street trees, and parking perimeter trees. So just to roughly go through those numbers, based on replacement, 17 are required, 17 are proposed. Street trees, 6 are required, 6 are proposed. Parking perimeter trees, 4 are required and 4 are proposed. And then the one deviation we have is for the total impervious trees. A total of 17 are required, whereas only 7 are proposed. So there is a deficit of 10. But what we're actually doing to propose here is total. We have 17 canopy trees, 17 evergreen trees, which comes out to 34 total trees, as well as 129 evergreen shrubs. So the plantings, while not checking the box of that final requirement for impervious trees. The intention is really more evergreen trees and shrubs to kind of meet the screening, and especially at that rear part of the property, separating the residential, having that denser planting in that area. As mentioned, we will comply with all township landscape standards except for the landscape buffer that I mentioned previously and impervious trees. As I mentioned before, we have increased one from what T-Mobile has, about 4 feet of a buffer to the residential property line. Our original application was 10 feet, and we are currently in front of you proposing 15 feet, which is still 5 feet off of the 20 required as mentioned in the professionals letter, based on the 15 plus the building height, which adds another 5 feet to that requirement. As I also mentioned previously, we are doing considerable landscaping in that area in terms of that 15 feet has now the 8-foot high board-on-board fence, as well as a number of evergreen trees and shrubs planting to increase the buffer and the screening from the residential to the Taco Bell. And you can also notice, just in general, the main part of the operation is pushed as far forward as we can for Parsonage Road. And again, that menu board is 87 feet from the residential property line. And I also would like to mention in the professionals letter, we previously were asking for a waiver for the minimum landscape strip along all property lines. That was not actually applicable to this zone. So just as a note in the professionals letter. And then just the last couple items. So for lighting, the site proposes 6 freestanding LED lights, all with house side shields. We also have 1 wall pack at a mounting height of about 8.5 feet over one of the main doors. And I would note that the lighting design does comply with all township lighting standards and has 0 foot candle readings along the residential property line, both from the north and all the way down to the south of that property line. The final item I'd like to go through is the signage. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, there is a freestanding pylon sign that's proposed. It does comply with all requirements for the sign in terms of being under area, under height, things like that. The one aspect it does not comply with is it's not 15 feet from the front property line. We are proposing 8.8 feet. And again, the T-Mobile sign is about 4 or so feet from that. And we did actually move the sign back 3 more feet from the original application based off of feedback we received from the township and the TRC. But a variance is needed for the setback, 8.8 where 15 is required. And then the final piece of this is the elevation, which is A3, what I marked. And for the elevation, I'll also kind of go through the wall signs that are proposed. The original application did have 6 total wall signs. The submitted application had 4, and there was a 5th sign that I'm going to put and describe in my testimony that we would be looking for tonight that I just wanted to make sure the board was aware of. The building is also a mixture of black, caviar colors, wall panels, and siding, with the touches of purple that you can see on this elevation. So kind of just to walk you through each side of the building, again, that A3 exhibit is a 2-page sheet. So I'll go through the facade in terms of north, south, east, and west, and what they face on the site, just so the board is aware. The first one is the south facade, which is kind of the main entrance, faces the parking lot, and it's what you would see if you're standing on Mason Street. The total area is about 30 square feet, and it's for the Taco Bell logo and the words Taco Bell. The north facade, which faces the drive-through or the Goodyear, the total signage is also about 30 square feet, and that is the same Taco Bell with the Bell logo. The east facade is a 72-inch illuminated Bell sign, which is 40 square feet, also under the maximum allowed of 42 square feet. And then the west facade, which is what faces Parsonage Road, is a 42-inch Bell sign, as well as the additional sign is the wording Live Mass. That's about 23 square feet, and those 2 signs are still under the total allowed square footage, so about 13.5 for the Bell sign and 23 for Live Mass, and that comes out to roughly 36.5, which is under the 42.7 that is permitted on that facade. In terms of permitting, we obviously have filed with the township and are here before you this evening for approval. We have received SCD certification, Soil Conservation District, And we do have county conditional approval. And as we mentioned, we have had multiple meetings with the county for not only the layout, but the overall proposal, as well as what wound up being the driveway shifts that I mentioned earlier. And in terms of the professionals letter, I think I hit some in my direct testimony, but I would also like to mention that there is no issue with complying with the comments in either professional.
So we'll go over each of them individually. Ms. Knight, we'll just start with the Neglia Planning report.
Sorry, he touched upon a lot of my questions in my report through his thorough testimony. I think for the most part, the last question would just be snow removal and how would snow removal be addressed on the site?
Yeah, I can check in terms of operations, but I do believe they have a private plower, and we can certainly provide some type of diagram or sketch showing where we plan to either move snow or place it in the event of a snow.
Okay, and then you said there will only be a maximum of 5 employees during each shift, or is that just kind of an average?
That's an average.
Okay, and then for the employees who don't have the 2 parking spaces on site, where would they park?
If they do drive, they could use some of the other spaces on the property, or they may get there a different way.
Okay, got it. That's all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Knight. Mr. Carley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excuse me. As was related in testimony, the applicant did have benefit of a couple of technical review committee meetings in 2025. Our office issued 2 review letters, the most recent December 01, 2025. In those review letters, and I'm heartened to hear that those action items in the review letter that suggest plan revisions, they would be addressed. In my review letter, I do spend time talking about turning motions from Mason on to Parsonage. I do not expect, even though I do spend a lot of words on sheets 2 and 3 of my review report, analyzing the July 2025 traffic impact analysis that the applicant submitted, I do expect that gapping for left turns out from Mason Street onto Parsonage. And I'll rely on the engineer to correct me if I'm misspeaking in terms of your discussions with the county. I suspect that the changes in the driveways that you had previously had on your frontage on Parsonage, no left turn out of your site, it moves your left turns onto Mason. But I believe that's appropriate. There's adequate gapping with Parsonage and Lafayette, and then Parsonage and Menlo Park Mall's driveway a little bit further to the north to give you adequate turning motions off of Mason, left turn onto Parsonage.
And
does all that make sense?
In terms of the county discussion, yes, we do actually. I also have the traffic engineer here too that could speak a little bit more towards that.
Well, if depending on how Mr. Attorney decides he's going to provide his testimony, that's fine. But would you agree with that general thumbnail sketch?
Yes, based on my understanding of the conversation with the county as well as the traffic assessment, correct.
And we do know you did provide testimony relative to buffering with the residential property to the east, to the rear of you, and you do have a significant landscaping package there. If during the construction of your project it is reported to Mr. Ayotte by neighbors that maybe some understory plantings could go in to supplement what you're proposing, would you be open to that as a condition if the board acted on this favorably?
Yeah, I think we
and
could
Mr.
work through
Ayotte
with the
being the
township,
zoning
yeah.
officer.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. The other thing in your testimony you talked about, again, correct me if I'm using the wrong words. It seemed like you were talking about a dynamic, the ordering system in terms of volume is dynamic. It has some way to perceive background noise and adjust its volumes to the background noises. Is there, in your opinion, any chance of that, particularly the order board, which is a little bit closer to the residences, not terrible close, as you testified, 87 feet?
Correct.
is there any chance of that thing, really becoming a nuisance to the residents, that the volume of that order board gets jacked up by the machinery such that someone in the neighboring property hears that?
I can't speak to the actual operations, but it does have its own volume control. So if that were to happen, it would meet state regulations in terms of sound. And if that was to be exceeded, they can also manually turn it down if that would be the case.
So what you're talking about, in every case, you'd comply with the state noise regulation standards.
Correct.
As contained at NJC 7:29, and that after 10 p.m., you wouldn't exceed 65 decibels at your property line.
Yep, and that should happen with the ambient sound, but also they will make sure that they control the volume.
You'd be comfortable with the condition being written into a resolution to that extent, that you'll comply with the laws that already exist?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carley. Ms. Knight, please.
And just confirming that you guys checked the condition of the sidewalks surrounding the property.
We actually are replacing the
Okay,
sidewalk.
yeah, that was going to be, thank you.
No problem.
Is that the conclusion of your direct testimony?
Yes, I have no further questions of our
Okay, all
engineer
right,
at this
so,
time.
so we'll go to the board, and I'm actually going to kick things off. Have you set a time, so you're proposing garbage pickup twice a week? Have you any set time as to normally with other Taco Bell sites as to when garbage pickup occurs?
It's typically off-peak. I can check with the actual operator, but it's typically off-peak, and they do have control to change that with the private
Okay,
hauler.
so I would ask to set a condition that it be done early in the morning, but not done too early in the morning where you're going to be waking up your adjacent neighbors.
Is there a time, Mr. Chairman?
I mean, if you open at 7, but I would say, between 6 and 8.
Yep.
Okay, all right, so we'll set that as a condition. And then through your research of other Taco Bell locations, do you feel confident that your vehicle queuing is sufficient?
Yes, typically 9 is on the higher end of what Taco Bell's looking for. And if it does go beyond 10, it is still on the site, which is a benefit as well.
We've previously, a few years ago, approved another drive-through, and it does not work, and it aggravates me every time that I go and pulling into it. So I'm very conscious of that. And then your landscaping, you have a very ambitious landscaping plan. Thank you so much for that. Are you envisioning including a sprinkler system so as to maintain the landscaping?
Yes, we'll be doing an irrigation system.
Okay, and we're going to set that as a condition just to make sure that.
No problem. I think that
obviously-
came up at the TRC too, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Does the board have any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Schneider.
I want to talk more about deliveries. So you mentioned it comes on a certain type of truck?
Yes.
What truck? You said WB40 or something?
WB40 is what we typically use.
Tell me what that is.
So essentially, it's roughly like a 40-foot long truck is essentially what it is. And in the package, I can refer you to a couple sheets. We do have truck turning.
Yeah. Let's just talk through it.
Yep.
So you're coming off of Parsonage Road?
Yes.
Making a right? And then it's in what you call the drive lane, right?
Correct. And I actually have this on board, so I can speak to it a little bit more. And you're specifically talking about the delivery operation, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Seems like a big truck.
So actually, if we can take care of two issues at once, just as in addition to Mr. Schneider's question, but also the ability for a SU-47 fire vehicle so as to service the site as well.
Yes, no problem. I can mark this, but I would note it is actually part of the site plan submission set. So
Understood.
maybe I can just refer to it to the
Okay.
board.
Council, that doesn't need to be marked then?
No, it does not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'll start with the delivery first. Again, off-peak hours, and this is essentially the turning movement. So it would come off of Mason Street, it would make a left turn into the Taco Bell, essentially park at the crosswalk, unload, and then from there, exit from Parsonage. And that WB40, we actually show a little bit larger of a truck just to be conservative, but typically the WB40, again, roughly 40 feet in length is the truck that makes the deliveries.
How often do you get those?
2 times a week, typically.
And it goes-
off-peak hours.
And it goes through that little service door?
The deliveries?
Yeah,
Yep,
thank you.
no problem. And then,
Let's do the SU-47. So while you set up, Mr. Hale, I have a copy of your police letter. We'll go over that in a second. But did you seek anything from the chief of fire? Did you seek a letter from the chief of fire for his review? Did you receive one?
I don't know. Do you have that?
No, we only received police.
Okay. So I think as long as we can cover the testimony that's suitable for the SU-47, we should be good. And then we'll set a condition that, we'll also leave it up to the fire chief if any
No
any
problem,
other
Mr.
conditions that he may set. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
and referring to sheet T-03 in the application package, that's actually the fire truck turning movement. And again, the 46 and a half overall length, which was the template that was provided by the township. And certainly if we receive any comments or feedback from the township fire official, we certainly work with him to address those comments.
Great. Thank you.
No problem.
Vice Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, back to the delivery.
Yes.
So you show the barrier-free where the van is. So can you show on the drawing where that 40-foot truck is going to actually park?
Essentially, the truck will basically just park along the frontage of the building there in the drive aisle.
So are you going to block the entrance from the person, from the barrier-free parking?
It's twice a week, 30 minutes per week, and Taco Bell does have full control over those deliveries. But yes, the truck will sit in that drive aisle for about a 30-minute period while it unloads, but can certainly move if someone's parked there if that is a problem at that time.
And then the other item was where is the other thing was, the drive-through is at 2 a.m. Would you agree to a condition of 12 o'clock closing rather than 2 a.m.?
I think we would hold the 2 a.m., which is pretty typical for Taco Bell operations and in character with a lot of the operations in the
Yeah,
area.
I understand that, but there's a neighborhood right there, and so the answer is no, you wouldn't,
we would have to take.
We consult with our client.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, that's it, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, and then just to put on the record before we move along, the board has received an August 21, 2025 letter from the Edison Township Police Department stating that the proposed plan does not directly affect traffic flow and meets ADA parking requirements. So I just wanted that to be on the record.
Great, thank you,
All
Mr.
right,
Chairman.
thank you very much. Mr. Hill, your next witness?
We have no further questions over an engineer. Would you like to
We do
hear
not.
from our traffic engineer at this time?
Let's go.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth in your testimony here tonight?
Yes, I do.
Can you state your name and business address for the record, please?
Gary Dean, D-E-A-N. Professional address is 181 West High Street in Somerville, New Jersey.
Mr. Dean, you have appeared before the board prior. If you could just please provide us with a summary of your background qualifications.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have appeared before this board, though it has been some time. I'm a graduate of Lehigh University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering and a former member of the faculty of Lehigh University and Lafayette College, having served as an adjunct professor teaching transportation engineering. I'm a licensed professional engineer in New Jersey, and I've been qualified before getting close to 500 different planning and zoning boards throughout the state. The firm, aside from representing private clients, also represents a number of municipalities, planning and zoning boards, serving as their traffic consultant. And my license is current and in good standing.
Great, thank you. Fortunately, since it's been a few years, we don't age, but we get better looking. And we'll accept you. You may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, Mr. Dean, we know your firm prepared a traffic impact analysis, and there were some questions raised by the board as to circulation and the like. If you could please provide an overview of your findings.
Certainly. Just by way of identification, that report is dated July 8th of 2025. It addresses the traffic impacts really during two primary peak hours, but we did include a third in that while the approval is, or should I say the application, forgive me, is for consideration of a Taco Bell. In the event that Taco Bell does better with their breakfast, or for example, another entity were to take the space, we did look at breakfast time or early morning conditions. So we looked at typical rush hour conditions during the morning and in the afternoon, and then also midday on Saturday, recognizing that's a peak time for activity, particularly for shopping and proximity to Menlo Park Mall. Our counts were done in May of 2025, mid-May, so schools were in session, good weather, nothing unusual in the way of national holidays or atypical events. And of the 3 different peak hours, and all of this information is contained in the report, the lowest overall traffic we observed was during the morning peak hour between 8 and 9. Kind of makes sense in that the mall isn't particularly busy. In the evening peak hour between 5 and 6, it's almost 1,000 vehicles per hour on Parsonage Road. And then Saturday is the busiest, recognizing the nature of the corridor, and it's around 1,150 vehicles per hour on Parsonage Road. By contrast, Mason Street carries what I would characterize as comparatively low traffic, and right around 100 vehicles per hour, maybe 125. So it's not a particularly busy road by comparison. As you've heard, our access points will permit full ingress, meaning both left and right turns from Parsonage Road, as I'll say addressed and approved by the county. But recognizing the challenges there are with left turns, our driveway will be restricted to exiting right turn movements only onto Parsonage Road. The driveway on Mason Street will be located, as you've seen from the exhibit, or hopefully can see, as far from the intersection as we can make it. We literally, without having with room for buffers, we candidly couldn't slide it any further from the intersection. I would characterize the overall layout as conventional for a Taco Bell with counterclockwise traffic flow for the drive-through. The entrance to that lane, as was described, is in generally the northeast corner of the site and then wraps around the northerly perimeter and then the window located generally on the northwest corner of the building. All traffic exiting the drive-through is directed to stop before either continuing out to Parsonage Road or recirculating through the lot to Mason Street. Mason Street obviously is a public street. We can't control its function other than there is a driveway from the site to Mason Street today. And for obvious reasons with the left turn restriction on Parsonage, we will continue to provide that secondary access. The intersection of Parsonage Road and Mason is and permits all movements. And we were sensitive in the traffic study as to, I'll say, the relative ease or difficulty, particularly for left turn movements or traffic going straight across to Menlo Park Mall. And while we typically use a modeling software that's been revised and perfected over, say, the past 30 to 40 years, it doesn't always tell us and account for what happens. And given that we have a traffic signal upstream of us at the mall and one south of us on Lafayette, we actually field measured, because we video record when we count, we look at the breaks in traffic. And the sequencing of those signals create some opportunities on Parsonage Road that the software really can't accurately emulate. So we, as part of this study, we conducted what we call a gap analysis. That is, we measure the distance in between two-way traffic on Parsonage Road during the more critical evening peak hour from 5 to 6, and then on Saturday, which was our busiest time. And there are times where there are almost no gaps. We don't record those. We need a gap of at least 8 seconds to have one car safely turn from Mason Street. As we get into longer gaps, as drivers, we all tend to watch the car in front of us, and if he makes it, we do a left and a right, and we kind of shadow them. And that because of that, it requires a slightly smaller gap in traffic. As we looked at that throughout the peak hour, we found that on a weekday evening, we had, I'll say, the ability to safely process 229 left turns. And on Saturday, it's 164. And I share that number with you only because in our traffic study, the actual demand of that volume to either go across Parsonage to Menlo Mall or to turn left is between 40 and 50. So we have 164 minimum opportunities to safely make a left, but we only have a demand of 50 vehicles. And so as a result, we concluded that there are adequate and safe opportunities for traffic from Mason to turn left onto Parsonage, even when we add the additional traffic associated with the site. We're here tonight because of the proposal to include a drive-through. Ever since the pandemic, one of the things we've noticed with drive-through use in particular is more people use it than they ever did. I'm not sure why, whether it's social distancing, whether they just became accustomed to it over the year and a half during that, but we've noticed it. And certain operators, perhaps the township is familiar with, the two most egregious offenders of drive-through stacking are either Chick-fil-A or Starbucks. Both of those typically have very long queues, maybe because the orders take longer to make. I don't know the exact reason. And those sites are designed to have adequate stacking, 30, 40 vehicles in some cases. Taco Bell, by contrast, has a fairly limited menu. Each item can be prepared very quickly, and as a result, their queuing or their stacking is, I'd say, in line with their competitors such as McDonald's or Burger King and Wendy's. As a result, the 9 spaces is more than we typically see for a Taco Bell. It's at a minimum 6. We usually spec 8. And in this instance, we have 9 vehicles safely within the lane and can accommodate 2 more before there would be any spillover out onto a public street. And again, as customers, I find that once the line becomes too long, people tend to park and walk inside, or they go somewhere else. So in this instance, knowing that we've met Taco Bell's own design standards plus what we've observed in the field, I'm very comfortable that the overall layout and circulation will be safe and efficient. As you also heard, we have adequate number of parking spaces consistent with your ordinance. The benefit of the drive-through is primarily its speed and convenience. Yes, we'll accept that, but for certain segments of the population, whether it's people with ambulatory limitations or parents with small children, or it's raining, sometimes it's a real inconvenience to park and walk in. And the drive-through does accommodate much in the way a handicap space accommodates certain individuals. It is a benefit for that, and it does improve service and convenience, and it does lessen the amount of pedestrian activity in the lot where people are parking. So on balance, we would have generally the same traffic with or without the drive-through, but it does provide a benefit, and it is a more efficient operation and candidly requires less parking. If a site didn't have a drive-through, it would need more parking. And roughly, depending on the time of day, anywhere from 40 to 60% of the traffic will use the drive-through, except at, I think it's after midnight when the lobby closes, and then the only component of the operation on weekends would be the drive-through. But in general, recognizing that we are in a commercial zone, something inevitably would go on the property. And Taco Bell is somewhat unique in that their primary time for activity is at lunch, not so much breakfast, not so much dinner. They are a lunchtime use, and that tends to be considered off-peak. But in general, as I said, I find the site to be well-conceived and designed and will provide for safe traffic movements. And I'd be happy to answer any questions the board or your professionals may have.
Thank you, Mr. Dean.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Dean?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Dave?
So this junction, Lafayette and Parsonage gets very busy.
Yes.
Not only peak hours, but during the holiday season between Thanksgiving and the New Year, Christmas shopping, this place gets busy, busy, busy. My biggest concern is, and I do not have what the dimension is, the entrance to from the parsonage to the property from Mason Street. What is the distance? How many cars can be stacked there before they get into the parking lot?
It's exactly the same distance it is today for the T-Mobile store. And our entire site frontage is 225 feet minus, say, the width of the driveway and a little buffer. So I would estimate it at 195 feet, give or take, almost 200.
No, but what about the distance to get into the parking lot from the Mason Street corner?
Sure.
Gary, you're going to take the mic? Sorry.
I'm going to refer to the colored exhibit that was displayed, and I'm going to use my finger to point. North is to the top of the exhibit. The Mason Street driveway is all the way at the very eastern end of the property.
On the parsonage side.
Oh, on Parsonage.
What is the distance, right?
The distance between Mason and Parsonage is, I'd say about 25 feet.
Roughly what, 3 cars can be stacked there in case parking lot gets busy?
Well, there's no stacking. A car would come right into the driveway and then proceed either into any of the parking spaces on the south side or continue in an easterly direction around the site to get into the drive-through. So as someone turns in, there's no stopping them. There's no reason to.
But if the parking lot gets full, and this location during peak hours, during Christmas holidays, parking lot going to get full. My biggest concern is that, and if that entrance can be moved further down towards Parsonage, so you have a lot more car can be stacked on Parsonage in case parking lot gets busy.
One of the things we've designed are the first 2 parking spaces are employee only.
I get it.
Which means there's no reason for a car to stop until they're into the site a good 20 feet and then to another 18 feet before the first space. So we can get at least 2 cars into the site before the first parking space.
My biggest concern, creating congestion at the Mason and Parsonage if the cars start stacking on Parsonage because they can't get into the parking lot. If you move that entrance further down where your exit is, move further down that side would make it a little easier on the Parsonage Junction. More car can be stacked on Parsonage before they move that further down. Yep.
My concern with that movement is drivers then have to make a hard 180-degree turn to get in, and that would tend to slow traffic down on Parsonage more than the design we have now, which lets them come in at 90 degrees. Anyone who's been behind a motorist making a U-turn, particularly in a larger, say, a minivan, that U-turn, because it's a right turn, is hard for people to understand where their wheels are and where the curbs are, and they tend to drive it very slowly. It could be done. I just don't advocate it because I think it's less safe, and I think it would create more hesitation and affect the northbound traffic on Parsonage than the design we currently have.
Yeah, can you look into it? That's one thing. Second thing is, because you have an entrance from Mason Street exiting out on Parsonage Road, when that junction gets busy, I know many times people try to cut through, they're going to cut through the Taco Bell parking lot and come through Mason and go through Parsonage. Are you going to stop people going, cut through your parking lot?
I guess I have to look at what's been there, and whether that's enough of a temptation for people to trespass. I think if that became a problem, obviously we'd have to engage township police. It is a trespass. It is one of the challenges of being a corner lot. I think the site design itself makes it a little less accommodating for that cut through, mostly because of where we located the exit, so that someone can't just come in and go straight out. They have to come to the southwest corner of the building, stop, make a right turn, make sure no one's coming out of the drive-through lane, and then come out onto Parsonage. By the time they do all of that, I don't know that they've saved that much. Now, can it be done? It could be done.
Right.
I don't know how to address that other than stepping up some enforcement, no through traffic, things of that nature, so that
Right. And the other thing
people
is
aren't inconsiderate.
Right. And the other thing is your drive-through has 8 car can be stacked in your driveway, correct?
9.
Drive-through. I know your operation at the Middlesex Mall, that Taco Bell, and I tell you, the 8 is not enough in that location.
So, again,
It's not that busy location. Sometimes I have seen that car stacked all the way in the parking lot in the Middlesex Mall, that Taco Bell.
So, on our exhibit, which is a colored version of the site plan, you'll see in blue each one of the vehicles in the stacking. Candidly, the 9th vehicle is where I have my pen, but it's at the very eastern end of the building. You'll note that we could actually fit a 10th car where it's labeled drive-through on the plan, and then an 11th, a 12th, and probably even a 13th, and still be on the property itself.
And at that plot, if more than 13, it's going to back up.
Correct.
On Mason.
Correct.
The car, are you okay with that kind of condition? It's going to back up if more than 13 cars on the Mason.
I'm basing thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm basing my opinion previously upon the results of the report that Mr. Dean did. Also is back and forth with the Great County of Middlesex jurisdiction of Parsonage Road. One of the elements that goes out of the conversation, or has gone out of the conversation in this regard, with drive-through and queuing, is the amount of time that car will be in that queue. I have every confidence that Mr. Taco Bell, whoever Mr. Taco Bell is, heaven or in hell, wants to get cars in and out of that drive-through line in 2 to 3 minutes. So what you're looking at in that queue is a turnover of those parking spots. Most ordinances, and Mr. Dean's 500-plus towns he's been in, most ordinances will either in code, codified, or just by practice, will give credit for drive-through spots as parking spots. So with the parking spots you have there, the 10 spots at the driveway, the queue, I think they'll be able to keep the traffic on their property. They won't have a terrible overflow onto Mason, such that you'll have 5 cars trying to take a left turn. But I have confidence that up the street, the signal with Parsonage and Menlo Park, when Menlo Park put that signal in, they want to put priority for Menlo Park Mall. So there's lots of gaps in there. Mr. Dean's talked about gaps in the traffic on Parsonage Road. So traffic on Parsonage is stopped. When when traffic on Parsonage is stopped up by that driveway or at Lafayette, nothing's moving in front of this space. So that gives gaps. And I don't know, Mr. Dean, maybe you know from talking to the county. Are those two signals synchronized, Lafayette and the Menlo Park Mall, or are they just random?
I don't think they're random. I think they are on the same, there's a timing program for each traffic signal. I believe they are on the same cycle length, meaning I'll have to check the actual measurements.
So not frequently, well, just give your opinion. Doesn't have to be to the microsecond. Every 5 minutes,
Sure.
that road's closed down?
It's usually a 90-second cycle. These are more complicated, so they could be 110, which means each signal sequences every 110 seconds. What can be done very easily, just because everything is GPS, they can be coordinated. Typically, the county will do that. Doing enough work in Middlesex County, they're having us put it in locations where we're putting in new signals. So they are typically sequenced specifically, and it allows, whether it's us or Goodyear or Valvoline, or even Mason, it allows all the non-signalized streets a means to get in and out. So that Parsonage goes, and then the corridor basically stops, and the side streets go out, and then the corridor goes again. Going back to the stacking and to a lesser extent parking, the ordinance requires two different calculations, either one based on area or one based on seats. We use the higher, which is 15 spaces that are required. We actually have 20 spaces. So we have 33% more than the ordinance requires. And part of the reason for that is we know that there will be peak seasonal times where volume is a little higher than normal. So that gives us the buffer, but also where the Taco Bell standard for stacking is 7 or 8, and we can easily fit 10, we also have that extra buffer and capacity to make sure that this thing isn't backing out onto the public streets. And that's why it's very linear. It takes advantage of the shape of the lot by using stacking along call it the long side of the rectangle, as opposed to the short side. We're using two sides of the site for stacking. So that's why it's a very efficient and traditional layout. And in my opinion, works very well. It's as conventional as I've seen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dave. Any other questions for Mr. Dean from the board? Mr. Carley, you're good? Your concerns were addressed earlier?
Mr. Attorney corrects me. I believe that in the previous engineer's testimony, you said you'd reviewed our December 1, 2025 report, and that all those action items that I'd offered as recommendations would be addressed going forward. Is that correct? Shaking his head up and down.
Mr. Hale says yes, so I'll accept that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Appreciate it.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Hale.
Gary. Yes, and I'd like to now call upon our professional planner, Mr. Matthew Flynn.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in your testimony here tonight?
I do.
Can you state your name and business address for the record, please?
Yeah, Matthew Flynn, F-L-Y-N-N. Business address is 101 Gibraltar Drive, Morris Plains, New Jersey.
And
Mr. Flynn, if you could please provide the board with a summary of your background and qualifications, please.
Yeah, education comes from Rutgers, master's degree in planning and public policy, professional planner's license in the state of New Jersey, AICP license, which is the national licensure for planners. I have testified before the Edison Zoning Board, as well as many other towns across the state and Middlesex County.
Is your master's of planning from Blasting? Your master's is from Blasting?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, good taste. So is mine. I have an MPAP. All right, we'll accept you. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. All right, Mr. Flynn, you're obviously all familiar with this application, the site, and the testimony that's been presented so far. If you could please provide the planning justification for the relief being sought in connection with this application.
Yeah, so at this point, the board has heard about the layout, the design, how the site is going to function, how people are going to move through it, the queuing, et cetera. I'm going to shift the focus now to the use itself as a drive-through. Here, we're talking about an experienced applicant that knows what we need to take into account regarding, what sites are viable for this type of use. And when we look at this type of thing, we look at traffic circulation, we look at queuing, we look at parking, safety, compatibility with the neighborhood. All of those things have been taken into account here, and I'll go into that momentarily. I would say that before turning to the statutory criteria, the relief that we're seeking here mainly is this D3 variance. We're allowed to have a drive-through as long as it's part of a shopping center. Here, of course, we have that shopping center across the street, but the property itself obviously is not part of that property. I would say importantly, just because something's a variance doesn't necessarily mean it's inappropriate. The purpose of this board is to judge each application on its merits. And we believe that in light of everything that we've showed the board, the use does make sense on this particular piece of property. Finally, we also have heard that the applicant has participated in TRC meetings, and we've made revisions according to the comments and concerns that we've heard there. Did you want me to hand these out, Steve?
Or I can do it if you want while you're...
And what are we up to? In terms of exhibits, what are we up to at this point?
We're at A4. A4.
So I'm going to just pass out an exhibit here. Exhibit A4 is a 4-page exhibit consisting of some drone photographs taken by my office on, today, March 24th, 2026, which accurately depicts the site itself and the surrounding area.
I just have a quick question. You said D3.
Oh, I'm sorry, D1.
Yeah, okay.
I agree with you, yeah.
Yeah.
And just while that's being passed around there, I stand corrected. It's a D1 variance. So basically, the essence of the test is whether this particular property is suitable for the proposed use, which is, again, the drive-through restaurant. So just to walk the board through this exhibit here, the first page is just looking northeast. I wanted to just show the board these uses that we have both to the left and to the right on this page. We're sort of sandwiched between two auto-centric uses, the Goodyear on the left of this page and then the Valvoline instant oil change across Mason. I would note that despite the fact that we do need some relief related to landscaping, if we look at some of these other uses on our block going from Goodyear back, we don't necessarily see properties that are characterized by much landscaping at all. I think our proposal is actually going to stand out as having some of the most landscaping on this block, actually. And we could also see that multifamily project in the back there, and I think I have a view of that shows that a little nicer. So sheet 2 now, we're looking northwest. We're looking across Parsonage. We can see the Menlo Park Mall. Again, if this property were part of that, if it were an out parcel, this would be actually a permitted use. So it's really just that distinction that is triggering the use variance, which is why we're before the zoning board. Going to sheet 3 now, we can look pretty much the other way, looking southwest across Parsonage. We can see not only do we have some, like I said, auto-centric uses adjacent to us, but this is sort of situated in an area that has these vast parking lots, pavement, and the like. And finally, sheet 4, I threw this one in there just to show the relationship of our site with that multifamily development to the east. We can see the existing buffer strip that we have out there now. We can see that we do have that existing trash enclosure that's right up on the property line in the back. Our proposal, as we heard, is going to push all of that to the west, away from that multifamily development, increasing the buffer width, and also, of course, adding some nice landscaping in that area. I think as of right now, it's 4 feet, and we're going to be increasing that buffer to about 15 feet. So a pretty substantial improvement in terms of our relationship with that residential. So again, the essence of the use variance test is site suitability. Here, when we look at the context that I just walked the board through, I would say that having a drive-through at this particular location is not going to disrupt any established land use patterns that a drive-through like this would offend. We're right across the street from Menlo Park Mall, which is significant because, as I said, this would not even be a use variance if we were technically a part of that shopping center. So I think that proximity is important in that regard. In terms of site suitability, again, the massing, due to the geometry of the property itself, the proposed building is actually substantially smaller in terms of building coverage and FAR than what we would be allowed here. And I would say that the size and shape can easily accommodate the queuing, the parking, circulation, et cetera. The other thing we look at is the municipal land use law, the positive criteria, the purposes of zoning. Why do we have these requirements in the first place? Purpose A is promotion of the general welfare. Our traffic expert stole my thunder a little bit. We talked about the benefits of drive-throughs, people traveling during inclement weather, people driving with kids, people that might be elderly or have disabilities, people stopping in on their way somewhere else for that fast and convenient access to food. Purpose G, variety of uses in appropriate locations. Going back to the site suitability testimony, I think that applies there. Purpose I is desirable aesthetics. I talked about the better buffering to our residential neighbor, removing the trash enclosure, increasing the buffer width, and adding landscaping. And finally, purpose M is efficient land use. Here we're working with an existing developed piece of property. We're barely increasing impervious coverage from 16,854 to 16,914, so just over 100 square feet. And again, the building coverage and FAR is substantially compliant. The flip side to that is the negative criteria. So just because something's a variance doesn't mean it's inappropriate. The board would have to find that there's a substantial detrimental impact to the neighborhood at large. In terms of zone conformance, we comply with all of the dimensional requirements for the zone. We comply with both of our front setback requirements, which, as was testified, we're actually eliminating an existing non-conforming condition to Mason Street. Accessory building side setback, again, we're improving an existing non-conforming condition there. That trash enclosure is right up on the property line. Height, coverage, FAR, parking, all of that complies. When we look at whether this is a substantial departure from what's permitted, again, the proximity to the mall, I would note that this is a highly permissive zone that permits restaurants, gas stations, retail, a whole slew of things here, car dealerships, some more intense uses, some uses that even have a drive-through element to it. The operational aspects have been addressed in terms of employees, hours, refuse, deliveries, lighting, and security. All of that goes towards the negatives. So all said, from a use variance perspective, I think the use makes sense here. It can be accommodated here with no detriment, and I think it's going to be a positive addition. The C variances that we're seeking, I'll just go through that very quickly here. Side setback, we're proposing 14 feet. We need 15 feet. We heard the freestanding sign setback of 8.8 feet. We need 15 feet. That's an improvement over the 4 feet that's out there now. The signage has to face a right-of-way, whereas we have 2 signs on our side facades. And then the landscape buffer, we have 4 feet in some places where we need 20 feet. So I think just to kind of hook some justifications to each of those, the side setback, I would note again, the front setbacks are compliant. We're only 1 foot short where we need that variance. In terms of the signage on the side facades there, I would say that the total facade signage is actually compliant from an area perspective. Even if we look at the fact that we're only allowed signage on 2 facades, if we were to add up the allowable area on those 2 facades, Even though we have signage on all four, we're still compliant with that area that would be allotted to us. Landscape buffer, I talked about the fact that we are substantially improving the landscaping and the relationship to that residential property. We're providing that fencing, the landscaping, so I think any activity on this property is going to be well buffered, well screened to that residence. And I would note that if we look at my exhibit sheet 4, this is an area where we have this big multifamily development behind us, which is sort of built into the zoning. We have this residential use right next to non-residential. So the fact that there is that adjacency is not necessarily a bad thing, and I think that we are doing our best to mitigate any potential impacts there. I talked about the freestanding sign setback. We're improving it, and we think that it's the best location for visibility. And there again, it's smaller than what we could have per zoning from a freestanding sign area standpoint. So I tried to just rattle through all that real quick for you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to go back to anything. All said, I think that what we're proposing here makes sense from a safety standpoint. We talked about circulation, the layout. I think everything here works and is going to complement the established neighborhood pattern.
Thank you very much. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Flynn? Seeing none? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Howe.
Mr. Chairman, we have no further witnesses at this time. Obviously, any of our witnesses that have testified so far are here and available for further questions from the board.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I want to go over this delivery and also the barrier-free parking and the entrance into the building.
Let me bring our engineer back up.
Okay.
Just to remind you, you remain under oath.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so you have 3 entrances into the building?
Yeah, so there's the 2 doors along here, and then the third one in the middle.
Okay.
So the 2
And
corners.
you have a delivery truck is 40 feet?
Correct.
All right, and you testified you're going to block the entrance to coming in with that delivery truck? So, here's my question, here's my comment, okay? So really, the question is, on a condition of approval, if this got approved, you would agree not to block the entrance for the pathway from the barrier-free, all right? And you would coordinate that with the American Disabilities Act and the Uniform Construction Code.
Yes, and apologies if I was.
And wait, let me finish. And also, yeah, because the 40-foot truck, if you count the parking spaces, I'm not comfortable blocking the main entrance. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I misspoke. When it was here, it isn't going to be like blocking the crosswalk. It will essentially use the crosswalk to unload while the truck's sitting there. So
Right.
apologies.
Yeah, but a
about that,
40-foot truck, and then you have the loading area. So it possibly, and I don't want to do your plan review, but, you might have to move it, okay?
Yes.
Or you might have to put it on the 3 spots next to it. Where's the other barrier-free spot? You said there's 2 barrier-free parking.
Only one's proposed and required by code. There's actually 2
Okay.
existing, is what
Oh,
I
there's 2
mentioned
existing,
earlier. Yep.
okay.
And we'd have no problem with that condition.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no
That's
problem.
a very good condition, no problem with that.
Great. Thank you very much. Anybody have anything else? Okay. Mr. Hill?
Yeah, we have nothing further this time, and I
Okay.
guess after public comment, if you
All
want me
right.
to sum up, or I could do it now.
So no, we'll go to the public first, and then you can go back and sum
Great,
up.
thank you.
All right, so we now got to the public. Anyone within 200 feet of subject site wanting to be heard. If you're within 200 feet of subject site, you received a notice via certified mail, sir? So first, we wanted to thank you for coming out, and thank you for your patience and bearing with us.
Problem.
Could you just raise your?
Sorry, this is my first hearing. I have no idea, really not dressed appropriately, so sorry. about that.
It's all right. We'll be you'll have the attorney will swear you in, and then you'll have 6 minutes to make any statement that you would like.
Okay.
Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in your testimony here tonight? Can you state your name, address for the record, please?
Sure, Michael Petrillo,
And your address?
199 Evergreen Road.
Great.
199 Evergreen Road. Sorry about that.
You can bring the microphone, the stand up, just so that you have,
It's fine. Is that
there you
better?
go. Thank you.
So I was listening to everybody. Does anybody live in that area? This is a complete disaster. Do not pass this. I plead with you guys, don't do this. There are so many negatives that are being overlooked. I live right behind here. I deal with this day in and day out with the noise, the trucks. You're inviting more noise to the area during the day, during the night, especially if it's open till 2 in the morning. That's ridiculous. We're already suffering with truck noise, people just, talking. Obviously, that's society, but yeah, they just, you don't live there, you don't know. They talk from parking lot to parking lot. There's a lot of commotion. There's horns going off. There's motorcycles that are just going to be stationed there running. I live about maybe 100 to 200 feet away, but this is not a good thing. I mean, we're not even talking about the health concern of Taco Bell. I mean, when are we going to wake up to society and the health hazards of this kind of food that we're inviting into our neighborhoods? We already have Sonic, we already have IHOP, McDonald's, White Castle, junk food all over the place, and we're inviting more of it. This is a tiny lot, Mason Street. Has anybody driven on Mason Street? No. You guys have no idea. Like, I don't mean to insult anybody, I really don't. But I've been here for about 9 years. It's a tight street, as it is. And the residents of Margate, where I live, we don't have enough parking, as it is. We don't even have designated parking spots because we have too many people and not enough spaces. So we're already fighting for spots. And people in Margate use Mason Street to park. What's going to happen is, if you're under the delusion to think that everybody's going to use the Taco Bell parking lot and get their food and just be on their merry way, it's not going to happen. They're going to go in there and people are going to park on Mason Street and they're going to hike it. They're going to park in our Margate parking lots and they're going to hike it. Has anybody thought of the disaster of like wrappers all over the place and the litter that they're going to leave behind? Again, I'm not here to insult anyone, but we really need to think out of the box with this. This is a money thing. Like, where's the health concern? Where's the concern for the people who live right behind here? Evergreen trees are not going to stop the noise. There are so many levels that this is frustrating. We already deal with it with the Goodyear, with the Firestone. We hear engines revving all the time. They have no concern for the noise. This is just another addition to that. Now you're going to also have people crossing the street on Parsonage. They're going to the Menlo Park Mall. You think they're not going to walk right across the street on busy traffic just to get to Taco Bell? There's also a medical center right there, right behind Valvoline. They're going to park in there and they're going to hike it. There's also a school bus that drops kids off right there on Judson. They're going to have kids crossing Mason Street and you're going to have more traffic. This is not even during the holiday season. How much time do I have left?
Madam Secretary?
Because so you're going to have more hazards of children getting hit by cars. And I can tell you right now what's going to happen. People are going to whiz down Route 1. They're going to jump on that off-ramp where White Castle is. They're going to cut through Judson as they do now to get to the mall. Now you're putting more incentive for them to cut through Judson to Mason. And you're going to have heavy traffic in that area. And you're going to have people crossing the street, toddlers. Not to mention other people coming from the medical centers. not to mention us trying to get to work and just to jump on Parsonage. This is a horrible plan, and there's a million other methods, million other things that you can do with that little place instead of making it Grand Central Station for junk food. We got to stand up. Enough's enough of this stuff. This is insane. You guys don't even live in the area, but we do, and we have to suffer with this day in and day out. Well, we're tired of it. Don't pass this, please. Think of something else. Think of something that brings families together. I don't know. We can sit and hash it out, but don't just do it for the money. And don't just do it for the town's taxes and stuff like that. Listen to your residents who are here. That's all I got to say.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Next resident within 200 feet.
You raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in your testimony here tonight?
I do.
Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Eric Albites. I live in 27 Judson Street. My name is Eric Albites. A-L-B as Victor, I-T-E-S. I live in 27 Judson Street, almost 50 to 60 feet away from the lot. I had many concerns about this meeting, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you. I see how many of you are concerned about the situation. And I have three concerns that were solved at the time that I discussed with these people. One of them was 8.5 feet fence on the east side that has been approved. There were flood lights in T-Mobile right now that are facing towards the building, which of course are going to be removed. So that's the signs of the lights that are going to be there. And also, one of the major concerns I have is with the garbage. I drive, as my neighbor said, on Mason Street. And in there, right now, I see garbage from Burger King or McDonald's. My main concern is that I will not be happy if I see Taco Bell wrappers on the street. So if there's a chance to put garbage cans in the parking lot to prevent those actions. But besides that, those are my most major concerns. I already spoke with the people in charge of the project. They're going to try to keep the noise levels low. I'm also happy that all of you are concerned about the situation of the noise. See what everybody decides on this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hale, would you agree to add some garbage cans to the site if there are not already?
No problem.
Great. Anyone else within 200 feet of subject site wanting to be heard? Anyone outside 200 feet of subject site wanting to be heard? Seeing none, can I get a motion to close public portion?
Motion to close public portion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Schneider, seconded by Mr. Patel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Public portion is now closed. Mr. Hale, I'll go to you for summation.
Yes, thank you very much. And first of all, I do want to recognize, and we're always sensitive to members of the public and their concerns, and that's why throughout the development of this application, including TRCs and being reactive to the reports from the board professionals, that increase in buffering and other modifications that were made to the plan to address any concerns from the residents. And we, again, have to focus on the fact that the use itself is not what triggers the variance here. The restaurant uses are permitted. Other, even more intense possible uses are located at this site. I think that having the steps that were taken, again, increasing buffering, reducing the size of the building, and addressing all of the departmental comments and the comments from the board, that this makes for a good application. It fits in nicely in the area. Again, the concern about the type of food and things like that, the use, again, generally is permitted. It's the drive-through, and the testimony has been provided as to justification and benefits that are provided for that. You have a well-established and a well-managed company that has safeguards in place regular inspections, as the Taco Bell does, to make sure garbage is under control, that there's cleanup to the site. I think all of those factors and agreeing to the other conditions such as site layout, drop-off, and pickoff have all been addressed, and I think there's good justification for this application, and we look forward to the board approving the application with the conditions that we've already discussed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I'll go to the board.
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application based on meeting the positive and negative criteria, and also for the aesthetics of the neighborhood, and also based on the engineering and planning reports, and also the reference to which we discussed and on the testimony in reference to the loading. The truck will not block the entrance for the barrier-free parking, and they'll work that out. Thank you.
And I would add that the garbage pickup time as testified to between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. twice per week. And the applicant agreed to add garbage cans to the parking site and also a sprinkler system.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba.
Yes on the motion. Unanimous approval.
Thank you very much, and appreciate your time and
Thank you
attention.
so much.
Appreciate the public being here, too.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, any further business come before the board this evening?
That'll be all this evening.
Seeing none, can I get a motion to adjourn? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion by Mr. Sadata, second by Mr. Patel. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Board stands adjourned. Thank you, everyone.